Hello and welcome to Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines and the stories that make our community tick. Well, in the last 17 hours, a candidate has announced for mayor. An awesome Americana country rocker killed it at Cafe 9. And the city's leading development official brainstormed with downtown Ooster Square neighbors about how best to involve them in the big decisions changing New Haven. Well, the New Haven Independent captured highlights of those events on Facebook Live. So today on Dateline New Haven, we're going to play those videos so you can hear what happened. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, watch what happened a little bit at those events. And then we're going to talk about that with the help of Station Manager Harry Drost. We're also going to rely on Harry to see if we can actually do the technology here. This wouldn't be high order thinking at every place, but it is here. Anyway, thanks to New Haven Hospital for providing support for today's program. So, Harry, were you surprised that Justin Elicker filed today to run for mayor in a Democratic primary in a rematch from 2013 against third-term Mayor Tony Harp?
Not surprised, but I'm hoping that New Haven is like the national scene, right, for president. I'm hoping we have like 20 candidates running.
I don't think we're going to have 20 strong candidates unless Tony Harp changes her mind and doesn't run. There are all sorts of people like Michael Smartwine, Candelaria, others who would run if she didn't run, but they're not going to take her on. I think that while there might be other people in the field, I think it's going to be, I could be wrong, because like Liam Brennan's considering, Wendy Hamlin has a plan, but I think it's going to be largely a one-on-one shot. I could be wrong. And one thing I'm hoping is different from the national scene is these are two politicians. Harp's the mayor, Elicker's a former alder, he runs a land trust. Their general style is civil. They're policy people. They love policy. They love government. They don't like the political sniping thing. But every campaign now gets nasty. And I'm wondering whether we can keep it civil and on issues, because New Haven there are a lot of big issues here about the fiscal stability of the city, public health and lead paint, Board of Education and schools, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Transportation, how we handle the building boom. Do you see in New Haven, do you think we're going to be able to make it through a August primary and maybe, or September, I'm not sure if it's August, September, I got to look that up, and whether, I think it's August, and into a general election perhaps, we're staying on the issues and without mud, or what do you think?
I'm hoping a lot of mud is thrown, right, at each other. But no,
Why?
I think, well.
How does that help us with a lot of mud?
I think there's a lot of mud to sling, even in the political realm of, because a lot of people have been kind of upset at Tony, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that it isn't so civil that we don't
Talk about real stuff.
talk about real
Well, here's
stuff.
the thing.
Right.
If you're Justin Elicker, right, you got to deal with the issue that you didn't get a lot of black support. You're some white guy from New Canaan. Tony Harp's been here for decades, a state senator. He still did very well last time. He almost won. So you know that there are people upset with the incumbent. So you don't have to trash her, because they're still going to vote for you. You can bring up, today he began bringing up criticisms. He criticized her on lead paint. He's running on public financing. She is not. He talked about picks for department heads and how to manage. Any incumbent after 3 terms has people who aren't happy with what they're doing. You have them, and you can bring that big issue up. But then you have to win over people who might go either way if you want to succeed. And people aren't going to like it if you get personal and nasty. And you got the added factor of a large African-American vote, especially in the primary, percentage-wise. And you have an African-American woman who's very respected. You would counsel him still to like roll up the sleeves and get dirty, or
Not dirty, but fight.
Mm-hmm.
Fight for it. And I think, Tony's been, she's a black woman. There's a big African American vote, but you have to give the black community credit that they're not just going to vote for her because
no, she's done policies that
right, and there's a lot of policy issues that they're upset with too. So hopefully people are going to bring with them to the voting booth their best interests and not just,
And the way I think we get that is through a civil campaign. I think you're right. Deal with real issues. And I think he did today. He dealt with lead paint, and Tony I called her up. If you read the Independent, you'll hear her side and why she thinks they're actually doing a good job in lead paint, why Elliker and some judges don't agree, and the merits of public financing. Well, Harry, how about if you and everybody listening takes a listen at Elliker's filing today in his first press conference with me and Mary O'Leary from the New Haven Register, and you can watch it too. Are we going to be able to do the split screen, Harry?
Well, yeah, we'll be able to do it.
Okay, folks, so here is the scene of Justin Elliker announcing that he's running for mayor against Tony Harp here on Dateline New Haven at WNHH New Haven's home for community radio.
I thought you'd be here.
I mean, mine instead of yours. I want to see you.
What's going on?
Hi, Walter. How you doing?
Hi, how are you? We're here to file some paperwork. Remember May?
Hi. Nice to meet you.
I'll shake your hand.
That's May Gardner-Reed, who's the assistant city clerk.
May is
She
the,
also lived in his neighbor to Cedar Hill when he was in Alder.
Cedar Hill constituent with the highest expectations of anyone.
Yeah,
Did I meet them? Did I meet them?
You met him.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. We've got my wife Natalie and April down there, our little girl and Molly here.
Wow.
And I'm here today to file paperwork to run for mayor. And I wanted to just introduce a couple of other folks that are involved with the campaign. Laura Snow Robinson is very, very generously agreed to be the treasurer for the campaign. And you may remember from last time, Melanie Quigley, she was the treasurer last time, she's the deputy treasurer this time. And Walter Morton is here, and he's agreed to come on board to help as a campaign coordinator to get our team up and rolling. So just a brief couple words. I love New Haven, and came here more than 10 years ago and just threw my heart and soul into this city. I have spent so much time both doing what I can to make the city better, but also in many ways receiving so much from the city in how it's broadened my own horizons, exposed me to new people, new ideas, challenged my own perceptions of who I am and who I want to be. I threw my heart into the Friends of East Rock Park when I first arrived. I ran and won for Alder in Cedar Hill and East Rock. I put an incredible amount of work into being Alder for 4 years. And I'm particularly proud of addressing issues that many constituents, particularly in Cedar Hill, were frustrated that were not addressed for many, many years around urban blight, absentee landlords, and a city hall that was not as responsive as it should be to the needs of the residents. I ran for mayor in 2013, and everyone here knows just how much energy and effort I put into that. In the beginning, I was pretty much an unknown, and in the end, I outperformed everyone's expectations with a campaign that was well run, with a team that was incredible, and with a slow, steady, deliberate movement forward to make sure that we could do everything possible to win. And we came very, very close, despite so many odds being against us. Since then, I've run the New Haven Land Trust. And while I could have chosen a number of different paths that would have made more money and probably been financially better for me, I still wanted to continue to give to the city and do everything I can to improve the world around me. But New Haven to me means much more than that. It's a personal story of mine where through volunteering I met my wife Natalie, and we've grown our family here. We have bought a house. We have 2 lovely daughters, Molly and April, who are going to go to public school next year. And this story to me is just beginning. When I think about the city of New Haven today, and I think about the land trust where it was 5 years ago. April's strawberry. The land trust was in serious financial straits at that time, and it also had a very narrow vision of what it could be, and it had incredible assets but a narrow vision. And when I took over 5 years ago, I surrounded myself with an incredible team, and together we built the organization. Now our budget's nearly 5 times what it was. We've broadened the vision of the organization to address the problems and the needs that exist in New Haven around youth employment, job training, productive things for young people to do in New Haven. And I see New Haven, the city of New Haven, in very much the same way. We face serious financial problems that need to be recognized and addressed. But in many ways we don't believe, I think, in ourselves, in what we're actually capable of accomplishing. This city has so much potential. I've lived in a lot of other places, a lot of other cities, and more than any other place, there is the kind of activism and energy from the public to push the boundaries on what we can accomplish together. And there are so many attributes of New Haven that are special. We've been recognized as the most representative city in America. We have the assets of Yale University, and often forgotten, but they shouldn't be, or the many other universities in the city. We have so many people that care deeply about the city. And I think that in many ways we're not looking at what we can accomplish in a broad way, to think outside the box, to get the right people in government to make sure that we can accomplish so much more for our cities. And I just want to finish on a personal note. You know, we have 2 young daughters, and I think of the city that I want them to grow up in, and it's the city where everyone has the opportunity for a strong education. It doesn't feel the need to play the school lottery game to get into to a school based on luck. Everyone has opportunities to have a strong job opportunity because of the education they had and because they are prepared for the jobs of the future. Everyone is able to live in a home that is not in an abusive environment because their landlords are either forced or actually proactively take care of that home. There's so much we can accomplish, and I want my girls to grow up in a city that is just like that, and that's why I'm running for mayor. So I think we have some paperwork to
Are you
sign.
running for Democrat or general election?
I'm going to run as a Democrat in the primary. I had a nightmare last night that one of the TV news reporters that didn't know me reported that I was running as a Republican. So, and that would like kill my campaign on day one.
Will you also run in the general election if you don't win the
I'm
primary?
leaving that option open for now.
And are you running
and it's similarly to last time in 2013. You know, I announced I was running at this time of year as well, and there was lots of gossip and drama about who's going to run, and my what was important to me was to stay focused, stay deliberate, and not let many people that potentially could run, and some people that did end up running, distract from what I wanted to accomplish. And so what's important about me leaving the option open to run in the general is because you never know how many people are going to run in the race. And in the end, similar to states like California, we need some sort of runoff situation in New Haven should that happen. But I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat for all my adult life, and I plan on running it as a Democrat in the primary.
And are you running public financing again?
Yes, I'm going to be participating in the Democracy Fund again as well. It's going to be more challenging for me to raise money. I think that differently from in 2013, it was actually helpful to me to raise money, but this time around I have a much larger fundraising network, and so the caps on fundraising will make it more difficult for me to raise money. I will be able to raise a lot more in general because I have a lot more contacts, but I believe in public financing. I believe in big money not influencing city politics. I want to be beholden to the New Haven residents that vote for me and those New Haven residents that may not vote for me in the end. I do not want to be beholden to anyone because they wrote me a big check.
You mentioned the area of people living in houses that the landlords don't take care of them and they suffer those consequences for a long time before the city will actually force them to fix it. Do you have suggestions on what should be done?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many laws already on the books. Look at lead paint. Look at lead paint and what's been going on with lead paint, where legal aid has to sue the city to push them to actually implement the laws that already exist. Legal aid has forced the city to create a committee, which they haven't yet created, to address the lead paint issue. And still, there's not movement on that issue. And we're talking about children that are in circumstances where, in many cases, their families aren't in a position to defend themselves, their families aren't in a position to move. Yet we have laws on the book that the city is not proactively utilizing. LCI has many tools available to them to force landlords to fix up their homes, and they should be doing more of that. There's some LCI reps that are doing a great job of that, but I think that there's a lot more that LCI can do in that area.
Justin,
two examples.
In addition to what you cited about problems that have emerged in court with them not keeping records on lead paint and not doing the job, keeping track of what's going on, there's also the issue that we have a higher lead paint standard than the state. We decided we're going to tolerate a lower level. We're going to go with what the Federal Centers for Disease Control say is a dangerous level. So that means many more older homes need to be inspected and enforced, and we don't have a big staff to do that. How would you tackle the fact that our money's tight, our staff's small, in addition to the issue of dealing with problems with enforcement that exist? How would you keep that same lower standard of how much lead is allowed, and would you find ways to get more inspectors, and if so, how?
I think the most important thing is that we make sure that we're helping families that need it the most. And so it's not as much, for example, there are some homeowners that have lead paint problems and they are able to address the issue on their own. They're not the target, and so it's how we allocate resources more importantly than changing the laws around the threshold of lead paint. I mean, I can tell you that I know two homeowners, for example, when I was alder, who were, their children were the ones that tested high for lead paint. They were working very diligently because it was all their own children that were having the issue, and the city was coming down hard on them. While there are many examples of other absentee landlords that are not addressing the issue, and the families aren't in a position to address them on their own. And so it's more about how we focus our resources.
All right, that's Justin Elliker. He announced that he's running for the second time for mayor. He ran 6 years ago. He's taking on Mayor Tony Hart in a primary election for mayor this year. He was at City Hall, at the city clerk's office today, filing his papers, and you just heard most of a press conference he had with the Independent and the Register. You can hear the whole thing by going on the New Haven Independent story. You're listening to Dateline New Haven at WNHH-FM. I'm your host, Paul Bass. We're looking at some big stories that happened in New Haven over the last 20 hours or so. Harry Droz, what did you think when you were watching that? What struck you?
Nothing. Nice guy. Nice guy. Hopefully, he looks too nice to me.
You worried they're not tough?
Doesn't look tough, but hopefully he has it in him.
Why do you think he chose? Most people don't choose to make a formal announcement with just your family and not a group of supporters. You have some some people working on his campaign, but usually there's some big event with music or rallies and crowds you bring. You show who's behind you to show. I remember John Daniels when he ran. He had like a Nobel Prize winner. He had neighborhood leaders. They filled a church downtown. Do you think campaigning has changed, where it's much more lone wolf, and you could just use social media and go on the force of single personality? Why do you think he announced that way? He's been working on this.
I think it's pretty simple. It's messaging, right? So, he considers New Haven as important as his family. And he wants to show
His
you
first
that.
announcement is supposed to be big picture, even though we got in the weeds on lead paint.
Right.
It's supposed to be vision.
Right.
So you think the family was the tableau. I'm a young family. Here are my kids and wife. I want a better New Haven for everyone, just like
Right.
I want it for them.
But for everyone, as much as I want it for my family, I want it for you.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think he pulled that off? I was wondering, like, you had little kids. I had little kids. What if they had meltdowns? It's just kids have meltdowns.
That's true. They're unpredictable.
Yeah, but they pulled it off. I thought Molly and April Elliker were pretty chill. What one thing that struck me, he talked about, I've been here more than 10 years, Justin Elliker said. He's 43. How is that going to play? You have a lot of people in New Haven who have been here under 10 years. You have an explosion of people who tend to be the kind of people who vote. Downtown, Ward 7, which used to be in the middle of the pack for voter turnout, has now soared to the top. They're sort of the New Haven. Those are the Justin Elliker voters often. However, there are also people who vote in elections who feel like if you've been here 40 years, you're still not a New Havener if you weren't born at Yale New Haven Hospital or Grace New Haven before that. Did that strike you the way it struck me, that he considered it a long time to be here, more than 10 years, and wondering what that means politically?
It does. That's probably his weakest point, but at the same
It's
time,
a strength with certain voters and a weak point with others.
Right. But does it really matter, how long you've been here if you plan on actually, staying here, actually planting roots here, right? So, and that's his message there with
Yeah, he
that
said
family.
my kids are going to public school. Yeah.
That's his message. So, I mean, and also, come on, New Haven is about the people who come in. The problem is always keeping the people who come in. They leave immediately.
But it's also about keeping people whose family raised them here and then they leave for other places, although we're the ones sitting in Connecticut where people do want to move.
Right. But, well, and a lot of people do end up moving from here, right? And the people who stay, you have to be brave enough to run and make a change yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this guy came over and he's willing to actually, he's saying, I care enough about this city that I'm willing to actually take a chance on it,
Yeah, I know, Harry. I know you weren't born here either. You were born in New York. I was born in New York. I've been here since 1978, so that's 41 years. My kids grew up here. I'm here for the long haul. And some people still feel like I'm not a real New Havener.
Right. Actually, I don't feel like, for some reason, I still feel like a New Yorker.
Well, you sound like a New Yorker.
I know.
You got that fight. You got that New York.
Yeah, I still feel that way. I feel like people operate at a different pace here.
Yeah.
And
I didn't like the New York.
I still haven't gotten. I'm here since 1993.
You raised a kid. You got grandkids.
Yeah, so I'm here a long time, and I still feel kind of out of place.
The other thing Justin said, he was talking about why he's running on public financing, was potentially could be a very good issue for him with the newer voters, right? It's not a big issue in more established communities, black community, but there is a certain vote that was inspired by him in 2013 that likes that agenda of clean money. So in 2013 he ran, he said, I'm taking a risk. I could, he comes from wealth. He said, I could raise a lot of big money, but because I believe in public financing, that's a more important goal because I don't want big money to determine what happens in politics. So I'm going to take it. But he raised a lot of money with public finance in 2013, and he changed his tune this morning. He said it helped him in 2013 that it got him to a bigger pool of people. That's not what he said in 2013. But in any case, now he's saying, I made a sacrifice today by deciding to go public financing. Because what he's gambling is that there are a lot of people who care about not having corruption in politics or the appearance of it or the influence of money. So by running in public financing, you're saying I'm going to have smaller contributions in order to get a match from the government. I'm not going to take any special interest PAC money, political action committee money. So today he said, I'm taking this risk because I could have chosen a different path. Do you think that people are going to care about that? Do you care about that issue?
He is taking a chance. He is, right? But at the same time, you look at, for instance, you remember when Obama came out and he was going to go for public financing.
And then he didn't.
Then he didn't because you realize there's so much money on the other side of it. Now, so he is taking a chance, but
I think he's going to have plenty of money. I think it's a win for him because the voters who will be motivated, who are the newer voters, the ones who voted for Bernie Sanders, basically.
Yeah,
he's going for the Bernie Sanders
so
vote.
I think so. He's going to have plenty of money, right? So
I think it's a win for him.
it might be a win for him, especially for look. We all know that we want corruption out
And I don't think
of
Tony
government.
Harp has any. There's been no allegation of her personally being corrupt or anything. But there's that
Not,
image
not
when
accusing her of that.
it was when people. I know, but when you're getting money from political action committee or people line up a lot of $1,000 donors because the top is 370 if you go public, that does make people get concerned. It's an easier way to raise money, especially if you're an incumbent. So there's sort of an upside downside for both of them because Mayor Harp decided not to go public financing. The other thing Elger said there that struck me, and if it struck you, he said I could have chosen a different path than running the land trust for the last bunch of years. You know, in other words, he said I could have made more money. Now, the truth is, some people don't have that option if they don't come from wealthy families. But do you think that might resonate? How's that going to resonate with people who struggle and don't have his advantages to hear him say, I took a job that doesn't make as much money as I could have made otherwise, and that should be to my benefit?
I don't know how did Lamont do in New Haven?
No one voted for Lamont New Haven. He got a record vote, but they were all voting against Trump. When he ran in 2010, he lost, even though the mayor and the politicians were with him, because he had 0 residents in New Haven. I don't think you can take this governor race. But you're saying people aren't turned off by the money.
I think they are. A lot of people are.
No, Tony Harp is playing money too. I'm talking about the way he presented himself. Like, I'm just
Right.
wondering if you say, well, I could have made more money. Give me credit for that. How are people going to feel about saying, give me credit for living fine in East Rock, but not being even richer if I could have been?
Well, you see, I don't have a problem with him making as much money as he wants to.
No, me
So
either. Yeah. So you're saying do you give him credit for being at the land trust, or do you think he thought that was a wise move?
I don't give him credit because when people say stuff like that, they're basically telling you, "Look, I sacrificed." Now, sacrifice is different to everyone, right? Everyone has their own form of sacrifice. Financially, he hasn't really sacrificed. He's done well for himself, right?
Yeah.
So just that part of it is going to turn some people off. But at the same time, we know, and I'm not saying Tony, I'm not talking about corruption and Tony or anything, but when you have people giving you money, you owe them.
Yeah, and they both live comfortably, so I don't think I'm hoping it's not a personal campaign like that. Again, I'm with you that let's talk tough and smart and honest about issues, but not personalities. You're listening to Dateline New Haven and WNHH-FM. I'm your host, Paul Bass. We're looking at some of the stuff happening in the last bunch of hours in New Haven. We have a new mayoral candidate, Justin Elliker, challenging Mayor Tony Harp, who said she expects to run too. I'm talking about with Harry Dross, and we're going to the Facebook Live video. So, Harry, last night I was at Cafe 9, which is my favorite place to hear music in New Haven. It was Tuesday night, and it was packed. The seats were taken early. Luckily, I got there early so I could get a seat. Every inch to stand was occupied. And there was a band there called Amanda Ann Platt and the Honeycutters. They're from Carolina. They tour the country. They're kind of a big Americana band. You know, when you talk about politics, Harry, and when you talk about music you like, it's such a wide range. And you always talk about genuinity. It seems to be your bottom line. It seems to be a bottom line for a lot of people in politics, in music right now. They want to feel like the person's real. And their message comes from the heart, and it's not packaged and phony. So I wonder if you could watch this video that I took that is not high quality. I wasn't working, so I was kind of behind somebody. But of Amanda Ann Platt and the Honeycutters doing a song and a half last night. I thought it was a fantastic show. I think she sings from the heart. She's a terrific writer. She comes to that Americana genre that has a lot of acoustic instruments, but can add also the electric pedal steel like last night in the drums. And so much of that music has that genuine feeling to it, but the writing is weak. The kind of cliched writing. I think she writes great songs. I was captivated at the end, stayed later than old people like me like to stay on a weeknight, on a work night. So let's take a look at Amanda Ann Platt, paying to a full house, overflow crowd at Cafe 9 on a Tuesday night in New Haven. And let's see what Harry Dross thinks of her music. right, that was Amanda Platt and the Honeycutters at Cafe 9 last night. I apologize. That was a Facebook Live video that kept hiccuping every other beat. A little hard to follow, a little hard to make out the words.
Who was that filming you?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Actually, that was pretty good.
Oh, yeah?
That's
My
an
arm was getting
that's an
tired after a long day.
improvement.
Well, I'm not as good as the younger people here, Harry. Holding it
Right,
steady.
right. That's an improvement. You actually
you, Harry.
you held steady there.
Really?
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay. Anyway, it's hard for maybe to judge based on that, Harry, because, I'd heard her on Pandora, and I hear that sound, which is fine, the Americana sound, which is very, slick and good. But it was last night and being up close, I was hearing the words. So that was about, I come from the heartland where your heart is from, and I won't eat the food or the goddamn tree. But it's all about stories, people struggling with life, but finding hope in it. So one about who loses a child, a girl, a young woman who baby got killed, from health reasons, and how it takes her years to come to grips with it and wrestle it, but keep moving on. Or about getting older as the seasons change and thinking out each year you got more lines, but when you go to bed you figure maybe doing something right. And about people who watch the people they should have married leave town because they were more interested in having fun and now figuring out how to keep on going. Very specifically, I thought she was fantastic.
I love that type of music
Yeah.
because it's so real, and I love the live guitar. It's just it's totally different.
And you should have heard him. He was also playing pedal steel. He was a hot pedal steel player.
Yeah.
That guy was. Yeah, I agree. That kind of made it. Because sometimes when you go strum those songs, you can strum steady with predictable chords, but you need a little more with it. You need the bass, and I think you need that pop in electric guitar for that country western sound. Although she actually did a cover of Aretha Franklin, "Do Right Woman." She didn't try to do it like Aretha Franklin, which is important not to try to because nobody can. But she sang it in that genre in a way that it felt so real. I just felt that, so much of that music we want to like, but it comes a little short because of the weaker writing, or it's not specific enough, or it doesn't have that hot playing. But that was a show.
Yeah.
Cafe 9 was
you out past your curfew.
I was,
yesterday.
and I was going to leave early because it was late for me. I get up early.
Yeah.
And I loved every song so much I stayed to the end till about 11. I told them that afterwards. I said every single song was great, So Amanda Ann Platt and the Honeycutter, and she loved Cafe 9s. And I noticed that from a lot of strong musicians who tour, they'll take a weeknight when they're not going to make as much money anyway. And as they're passing through, they'll come to Cafe 9. So you'll notice the same kind of groups that not everyone's heard of, but the ones that are really good and doing some great cutting-edge music, they'll always come to Cafe 9 in New Haven. It's this gem. And what I notice on so many of them when they come is that they're taken with the room. It's a very well-designed room. It's a good crowd. And the sound system's good.
Full house too, right?
What?
It was a full house.
It said she was amazed at Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Because you really couldn't actually find a place to stand. It was, as I said, I went early but that was great. So you liked it too, Harry Joe? So
Yeah,
the approval.
definitely.
All right. So, Harry, we're going to take another video, but it's going to be too long. So I think we're just going to have to wrap it up here. But thanks for helping us through the tech. Except for the hiccups and playing Facebook Live, I thought we did okay.
No, that was good.
And if you go to the New Haven Independent in a couple of hours, we'll have the story up about Mike Piscatelli, the head of development, dealing with neighbors in Worcester Square in downtown. Tom Breen was there about how they can find out more about big development projects and the public approvals that come and have their voice heard and how we reshape our city. The video's already up on our Facebook page, and there'll be more to it. So, Harry, I think I'm going to take it out playing a little more of the Amanda Pat, and thank people for listening to Dateline New Haven today. Every day's a new day in New Haven. A lot of it last night. Well, that sounds so good. Just the way they start the songs. And so Amanda Pat's going to take us out here. And thanks to Yale New Haven Hospital for providing support to today's program. Okay, folks, take it easy, but take it.